Thank you very much, Kojo. I think there are about 3 questions, if I recall. You made a right point to start with. That says that we've created 2.6 million jobs. But for the people you talk to, they are not seeing it reflecting. And that's exactly the point I made. That, in fact, even though we've created 2.6 million jobs, it's not sufficient.
What do you think? Looking at your own, living conditions, will you say that the government is running this country well enough? Will you say that this country is headed in the right direction or not? Let's hear from you. Now, let's now talk about, creating of jobs, yes. And in fact, they've told us they've created, 2.6 jobs?
It's not true.
No worry. So let's look at jobs here.
It's not true. It's not true because, Dave, if let me do just I'll come back to the creating of jobs. Dave, if you say you've created 2.6 million jobs in Ghana's economy, it must reflect in 3 ways. 1, Senate contributions. 2, it must reflect in the payee report of the GRA. 3, when you go to Cap 30, the security services don't use Senate, they use a different, that's the Cap 30, you must see it there. Now, Dave, you don't create 2.6 million jobs in Ghana's economy and have an unemployment of 14.7%. It's just not true. Yesterday, I watched part of the vice president's thing, and I don't have any data in front of me, so if I get some, people should forgive me. Per the video, I remember they said they've created 1.5 million jobs under planting for food and jobs alone. How did they come by the 1.5 million? How did they count people to get the 1.5 million? Again, Dave, the 2.6, he says that 1.2 is public and 1.4 is private. It's private. Now, Dave.
And he talks about the fact that he's checked from SNIT himself. He made a reference to SNIT as well.
Dave, when you look at the Ghana Statistical Service, they call something the Ghana 2022 earnings inequality in the public sector. Dave, the Ghana Statistical Service tells us that Ghana's entire public sector, the public sector of Ghana, is 688,000 people. Right? When it comes to the Ashanti region, it's 18% of it. When you go to Greater Accra, 17%. So people don't know. There are more government workers in Ashanti region than even the Greater Accra region. The whole Ghana, 16 regions, are public sector. The ones we pay publicly, it's less than 700,000. So if you created 1.2 million jobs in the public sector, per the dictate of our law, these should be Senate contributors. Now let's go to Senate data. When you pick the Senate data, right, active contributors of Senate, as we speak, are just about 1.7 million actively. In fact, let me give you that figure now. They are just about 1.8 million, right? 1.8 million.
So if they say they've created 1.2 in the public sector alone,
it must reflect
from the Senate contributions.
It's not just about Senate registration. Because people register card for a lot of things. I sit here, I'm a registered voter. But 2020, I didn't vote. So when you are counting votes, vote cast on 2020, you do not say to choose voter ID. It's not part. So I can register and get the voter's ID for banking transaction. It doesn't mean I'm employed. Again, the Senate data is also inclusive of self-employed people who want to pay for their voluntary pensions. 2, again, the active contributors of Senate from 2016 to date, they are not up to 700,000 co-in Senate executive. So where are the 1.2 million jobs? Again, David, if you have a public sector from Nkrumah of 688,000, how can you tell me in 7 years you've created 1.2 million jobs in that public sector? How? Where? Now, Dave, when you look at the payee data of the GRA, right? 2016 to 2017. It was 14% that paid tax, to 16%, to 18%. It reduced to 17% in 2019. 2020, 2020, I don't have the data. 2022, 16%. If you created, David, 2.6 million, including private people who are working, have to pay taxes. You think it won't reflect in our tax scheme?
Let's look at the job creation. Maybe it would also help us.
Dave,
based on the survey by Dafo Barometer.
Again, Dave, you don't create. The last time the living standards of the Ghana Statistical Service was done, what did they tell us? That unemployment was worsening, and the current figure is 14.7%. Dave, I want the VIPS team to tell us which sector, because yesterday when you watch the video, they said the planting for food and jobs alone is 1.5 million. How did they count those people? Dave, the reason why I'm always on this thing is that when we are not careful in churning out such figures and we behave like Ignatius Balfour, we are traffic 5.7 million jobs and all these things, you are diagnosing yourself with malaria whilst you have STI. And the drug you are using cannot reflect it. Now,
what you're trying to put across is that with the accurate data, you get to fix the problem the way it ought to be fixed.
You haven't created 2.6 million
if you don't have the right
jobs.
Accurate data, you will not be solving the problem the way it ought to be fixed.
In fact, when we went to meet the VIP, when I was in Accra, when was it? Wasn't it in August? They said, well, they've created 2.3 million jobs. Then in 2 months, they've created extra 300,000 jobs. Do they know what it takes to create 300,000 jobs? What did they create extra 300 in 2 months?
Let's look at the Afrobarometer report. What does it say? When it comes to the creating of jobs, what does it say? And let's start from 2012.
2012. So 32% said that, I mean, they are okay with the job creation antics of government. Then 2014 was 21%. 2017 was 47%. 45%. So confidence. So this thing tells you that it may not necessarily be jobs, but also perceived perceptions. Then 2019 was 42. Then 2022, the almighty 2022, 16%. Then in 2024, 18%. They've not created any 2.6 million jobs anywhere. The data doesn't support it. SNE data doesn't support it. I've given you the numbers. GRA data doesn't support it. It is simply not true. Now, Dave, I was pulling the SNE data for you. Maybe I'm taking you back, but let me just do this for public education. When you look at anybody should download the Senate 2022 report. In 2016, Senate had 1,353,610 active contributors. Now in 2020, David, the figure is 1,633,505, a difference of 279,895. Let's even multiply this by 3. What is the figure? Now they've add cap 30. MPP and MPP government has not employed security services in excess of 600,000. The figure is simply not true. And you cannot tell me, when did you go for the Bawumia thing? 18th August or so.
Between then and now?
Between that time, we had created 2.3 million jobs, which I was disputing, by the way. Then David, on what? Yesterday was 3rd November. We've magically created 300,000 jobs. Let's stop these things and give the youth the realistic numbers and create for them realistic things. Because the Ghana Statistical Service is telling us, David, that we have 2 million young people who the Ghana Statistical Survey cannot find them when they go to the apprenticeship shops. They cannot find them when they go to school. They cannot find them when they go to any vocation. Let's stop churning out these comical numbers that cannot be backed by any scientific data and create realistic job for the youth to do.
At this point, let's activate the phone line. Because again, if you look at the survey by the Afrobarometer, the first thing
is jobs.
Now,
when
032